What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Stay Tuned, episode 48. We're still on that road to WrestleMania. It's coming up quicker than we think. But yeah, we got part 2 today. We're going to be going over our top 5 matches of all time. Not necessarily just from WrestleMania, but from any sporting, whether it's Raw, SmackDown, pay-per-views, or another brand entirely. But as always, over here to my internet left, I got Tom. Tom, say hello.
Hello.
And there's somebody in the middle. Who is that? Is that Mr. Indy himself?
Mr. Indy.
That is Mr. Indy himself, Nathaniel Adams. So, how you been, Mr. Adams?
Man, I'm doing all right. Sick as shit right now, but I'm doing okay.
Everything else going good, though?
Yeah, everything's going good. Been doing my thing in CCW. I'm about to write a book. I've been doing a lot of appearances lately. Yeah, I'm writing a book called Who the Fuck Do I Have to Sleep With Around Here to Get a Push? It's going to be a tale of, yeah. It's going to be a tale of my escapades in wrestling.
Nice.
Just my thoughts and ideas from the last 13 years. And hopefully I can get that going soon. Everything else has just been working and surviving. You know how that is.
Well, don't sleep with me because I can't give you a push. I'm sorry, but
I gotta find
No, he
somebody
can
else
give
then.
you a push.
I could give you a type of
Well, I
push,
mean-
but I don't think you'd like it.
You told me if I slept with you, I could get on the podcast, and I'm here
There we
now.
go. Yep.
So,
So I guess you got a point.
There you go.
Secrets out, everybody. I'm sorry. All right, so we're just going to jump into this. So everybody's going to get an honorable mention. Then we're just going to go 5-1. And then, yeah, I think it's pretty simple, right? You guys have any questions?
No.
can I go last?
Sure. Yeah, sure. Yeah, that's fine, I guess. All right, Tom, what honorable mention do you have for us?
Well, I didn't realize I was doing an honorable mention
We'll
until
do
you
one.
just said it.
We'll
So, one of my favorite matches, now a lot of my matches are from the past few years, just because they stick out in my mind a little bit more. But one of my favorites from last year was at Ultima Lucha for Lucha Underground. It was the Cerro Miedo match between Pentagon Jr. and Vampiro. I don't know if either of you have watched that, but pretty much it's a no DQ match at their version of WrestleMania, and Pentagon Jr. and Vampiro go at it. And Vampiro's like 48, 49, 50, something like that. I'm pretty sure he retired, quote unquote, because of like neck injuries and back injuries and stuff like that. So it's kind of crazy that he came into this match, and then the entire match they proceeded to beat the hell out of each other, just blood everywhere. Pentagon Jr.'s mask got ripped almost completely in half. Lighting tables on fire, thumbtacks, light bulbs, all the good stuff. Fluorescent lights, I mean. But it was just a really brutal match, and it culminated in one of the coolest moments from that entire first season, where we realized that Pentagon Jr.'s master all along has been Vampiro, and he embraces his protege at the end. It was just a really cool match, very brutal, and it was a good payoff to one of the best stories from that season.
Yeah, I really wish I watched more Lucha because like the episodes I've watched, it's so like feels like a TV show, and it feels
It's
really
great.
cool.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
It's got Famous B,
Famous B,
your favorite wrestler.
#1 wrestler of all time. He's gonna be on my list next week. Don't you worry. All right, so if I had to give an honorable mention, it's I can't really give it to one match, but it changed the way that I view certain types of wrestlers, and that's divas. So I'd have to go to NXT and think of Sasha Banks versus anybody. Anybody.
Good answer.
So no,
Good answer.
it's hard to narrow down because the Sasha versus Charlotte, where Sasha took the title, was great. Then Sasha versus Becky, Sasha versus Bayley, Sasha versus Bayley. All those were just amazing matches. So good. And then I guess, except what was that, like 2 weeks ago, Tom, we talked about the match where her and Becky it was a double pinfall, like the weirdest ending to a Divas match recently. But an honorable mention because I know that there's going to be more things to come and better things to come. But I can't really narrow it down to one. So I guess I would just say Sasha versus anybody during her NXT run from Charlotte to Bayley. At least those are ones that I've seen live. Nate, what about you?
Okay, so I didn't know we were doing an honorable mention, but I'm glad we are.
Yeah, I know. It's
I'm
hard
completely
not to
throwing
narrow
your
it down
rule
to
book out
5.
the window.
Go ahead.
I'm
Go
completely
for it.
throwing your rule book out the window. My honorable mention is going to have somebody featured in my list.
That's fine.
Just because I'm Mr. Indy and I can do that.
But a real heel over here, guys. Watch out.
Probably Shawn and Shelton Benjamin from the Gold Rush tournament, Monday Night Raw. And this was back in, I think, 2003 maybe. And it's solely based on the finish where Shelton jumps into the ring, and as he's leaping across the ring, Shawn hits him with a super kick. And it looks like the most brutal super kick you're ever going to see in your life.
Nice.
And the pop that move got, I marked out for it. Although I was a kid then, so
Yes.
I was able to mark out for it. Not so much anymore.
We were like 15. We were like 15 back then.
Yeah. So just watching that and watching Shawn and Shelton and the way that the chemistry that they had, and I think Shelton's one of the greatest athletes in the world.
The gold standard.
And Shawn, and obviously Shawn is the greatest professional wrestler of all time, in my opinion. And just those two in the ring together made for one hell of a match.
Nice. I stopped watching wrestling roughly 2002, maybe 2003.
Greater.
And then, just other things were going on. But I picked it back up later. But I'll be talking about that a little bit later in the show. But yeah, so like Nate mentioned, he's breaking the rules. Mr. Adams, that's what you do, I guess.
Hashtag you.
Breaking the law.
Breaking the law. No. So there's only one rule. You can only feature a superstar, whether they're individual or tag team, on your list one time. So I guess I will get it started off. My number 5 is a pretty recent match. That's why it's number 5. But it features probably two of my favorite wrestlers of the current generation. Dean Ambrose versus Seth Rollins at Money in the Bank 2015. It was kind of hard to narrow it down to one because these guys, they pretty much had like a trio of matches. And every single one of them was better than the last. And just the Money in the Bank where they're both up on the ladder and they both come down with the title at the same time, like the perfect ending, but then like Rollins like rolls away off to the side with it. And I feel like Ambrose is getting that super babyface pop because he gets like within centimeters, not even inches, like within centimeters of getting the title, and then something happens. Like last night, for example, gets within centimeters and then doesn't get it. And it's so
Horrible
frustrating. Yeah, so frustrating because this is the one guy that, like he said before he comes out there, he lays it on the line. Like, look back at Royal Rumble. Him versus Owens. That was a brutal-ass match. And then he goes into the Rumble, and he's in the Rumble for, what was it, Tom, like 20-plus minutes?
Yeah, it was a long time.
He was like one of the last two. It was insane. It's hard to narrow it down, but just Dean Ambrose versus Seth Rollins anytime, because I think Seth Rollins takes the rebound lariat clothesline the best in the business with like the crazy, varial backflip that he does. Looks sick, looks amazing, looks disgusting, and I get goosebumps every time he does it. But yeah, my number 5, Dean Ambrose versus Seth Rollins, Money in the Bank, 2015. Tom, what do you got for number
Great
5?
match.
My number 5 is Kevin Steen versus El Generico, Ladder War 4.
Also known as who? Currently, I
Kevin
guess.
Owens versus some masked luchador who's now helping little kids in Mexico.
Rey Mysterio.
Sami Zayn. Yeah, Rey Mysterio. Kevin Owens versus Rey Mysterio. But yeah, Ladder War 4, 2012 for Ring of Honor World Championship, which is El Generico's final match in Ring of Honor before he went off to WWE. So
You mean Mexico?
Mexico.
yes,
Yeah.
Sorry, Mexico, to help out those orphans. I always get those guys confused. But
Easily understandable.
yeah, right. But yeah, this was the end to the Kevin Steen El Generico feud from Ring of Honor that lasted for 3 years, 4 years, something like that. And this was just a crazy match. Most of my matches that I have some kind of gimmick to them, just because it makes it more memorable in my mind. But it was a ladder match for the title, and it is just the two of them beating the ever-loving shit out of each other, throwing ladders at each other, taking crazy bumps off of ladders. I think they broke like 4 or 5 ladders in half in that match, which was insane. And then one of the coolest finishes to any match that I've ever seen, where they construct like a scaffolding kind of thing. They have two ladders standing up. They have two ladders kind of crossed between them. And Generico takes a package pile driver through that top ladder, and the sound that the crowd makes as soon as Steen puts him in the package pile driver is absolutely incredible. Everyone just gasps, and it's like the loudest, clearest sound you've ever heard. And then he takes it, falls off the ladder, and you just knew that it was over. There was absolutely no way that he was going to come back from that. And Steen climbs the ladder to get the title. It was just a lot of fun. Those two have amazing chemistry, obviously, and I'm glad that they're both on the main roster now, so that we can finally have that continue and let the general public let more people see those two and see how well they work together. But this is probably my favorite match that those two ever had.
Nice. What about you, Nate?
My number 5 is Sting Hardy Victory Road 2011. No, I'm just kidding.
Oh my God!
What a great pin!
Right? Probably my number 5. This one was really tough for me. I went back and forth. Bret Owen, I thought about not the WrestleMania match, but the SummerSlam match in the cage. But I finally settled on Sasha Banks and Bayley. I think it was NXT Brooklyn where they had the Iron Woman match. Is that correct?
TakeOver Brooklyn was where they had
the first
just
match.
Their regular title match. The Iron Woman match was at the next TakeOver down in Florida.
So the TakeOver after Brooklyn, I think that match was absolutely freaking amazing.
And it was like the main event too, which was crazy.
Yeah, it was. They closed out the show, and the things that those two women did in that match showed you that the WWE is not just filled with pretty models and pretty faces.
Although they are both beautiful, I will say that.
Yeah, they're both beautiful women, but they can work, and they were born to do this.
Yes.
Just the impression I was left with after that match was I am comfortable with the future of women's wrestling in the WWE, because if both these women are sticking around, which they are, this is what they wanted to do their entire lives. The future of the business as far as women's wrestling is concerned is in very good hands.
I agree, yeah.
They left me in amazement.
Yeah, it was. It was so good. Just the heat that Sasha was getting and the pop that Bayley was getting, it was so good.
When Sasha took Izzy's bow and like wore it and throw it at her and stuff, that was just, it was just so good. Sasha is amazing.
That's why I can't wait. Can't wait for Bayley to come up to the main roster and see them two feud. But I mean, we do still have Becky and Charlotte going against Sasha at WrestleMania, which I think will be amazing. And I think Sasha's going to walk out. I'd be okay if Becky walked out as champ too. I'm rooting for Becky. I know Tom's rooting for Sasha.
Oh yeah,
so, I'm rooting for Sasha.
Yeah. I'm like I said, as long as one of them walk out, I'll be happy, because I'm tired of seeing the drunk uncle. He's just kind of freaking me out.
Yeah, I'm waiting for that turn to happen too.
Yeah. All right, so moving on to number 4, I got another Money in the Bank for you here. I think actually Mr. Andy was at my house whenever this one was on, but John Cena versus CM Punk, Money in the Bank 2011. This solidified. Oh my God! Like, because you go into matches and you think you know exactly what's going to happen, and this one just kind of threw it all out the window. And John Cena had probably one of the best matches he had in years up until that point, and just also the build up to this match was just so good. The pipe bomb promo that finally dropped, because I think, what was it, John Cena and R-Truth were in a tables match, and then CM Punk interfered, and then he goes up there and he just said whatever was on his mind, which was amazing compared to having like a script and reading it off. He said, like, John, I respect you. You work your ass off, but there's other guys out there that work twice as hard as you that don't get the opportunities that you get. And it's just like, damn, that hits home. Like Luke Gallows. You look at him, I mean, he's coming back.
Hell yeah.
He's coming back, but at the same time, when I look back then, like Dolph Ziggler, that dude, still to this day, he's still an underused talent, I think.
He could sell a Bible to Jesus.
Yeah, and and when I think of actually like the most underused talent that we have right now, I think of Neville. Dude's amazing, and he doesn't nearly get the push he deserves, I think. I mean, he was NXT champion for like 308 days or something like that. And he comes up to the main roster and he just does weird things with like Stephen Amell against Stardust in the Ascension. It was just, I mean, it was a good match, but yeah, I mean, CM Punk actually got to go out there and say what was on his chest. Now, me and Tom were talking about this last night. I am tired of CM Punk chants.
Oh my God.
They're so annoying now. Like, I get it. He's gone. Let's move past it. But
thought we were better than that.
Yeah, but it pretty much looked like it was going to be like the Montreal Screwjob round 2 with whenever John Cena got him in the STF. And then, John Cena did the right thing and goes out there and clotheslines John Laurinaitis, which was a great thing to see at the time because I hated John Laurinaitis. And then gets back in the ring, gets the GTS, loses, and then Punk blows then Alberto Del Rio comes out, and he, knocks Del Rio out, then he jumps through the crowd, blows McMahon a kiss, and then rides off into the sunset as the WWE champ. And then, the comeback, I felt like the comeback was too soon from the fallout from the match, but the match was top-notch. It definitely solidified. I mean, we already knew CM Punk should have been a top talent, but this solidified him at the top whenever he, knocked off John Cena finally. And like Punk said, John Cena, even if you lose at Money in the Bank, you're going to have another rematch, and then you're going to have another rematch, and another rematch, and another rematch, which is still true. But yeah, number 4, John Cena versus CM Punk, Money in the Bank 2011. Tom, let's go right back to you, man. What do you got for number 4?
My number 4 is Stone Cold versus The Rock at WrestleMania 17.
So this is my number 2, by the way.
Really?
This is my number 2.
There you
Don't
go.
worry, he's already stole my number 3.
Nice. There we go.
All right.
And
so
then, and I'm going to clarify a comment Tim made earlier about Sasha Banks and Bayley and all that. But anyway, Stone Cold versus The Rock, WrestleMania 17 is probably those two's best overall match, I would say. They had the three different fights at WrestleManias. I think this one was the best in terms of just overall storytelling and all of that. And it's the two biggest stars of, the Attitude Era going up against each other, so what's not to love? Obviously, I'm a huge Stone Cold fan, so I was very pleased at the outcome of this match. But just the build up to it, between those two, all the interactions they had on Raw, where they, did each other's finishers on each other for, it seemed like about 3 months straight at the end of every Raw. Getting Stone Cold's wife involved in it and all that kind of stuff really made it personal for Stone Cold, and him to be able to come out on top at WrestleMania was big. And then, Vince McMahon had to get involved in all that, which not my favorite part of that match, but it was just the two of them, and everybody wanted this match. Two biggest stars at the best WrestleMania that they've ever had. It just kind of sticks out in my mind as my favorite match between those two. Lots of fun, and not much more I can really say about it. Just a lot of fun.
I'll mention some more about it later, but Mr. Indy, what you got for number 4, sir?
Mr. Indy's number 4 is Kurt and Brock at WrestleMania.
Nice.
It wasn't the best technical masterpiece that you would expect out of those two guys. I mean, Brock of yesteryear was a little bit more of a technically sound wrestler than the Brock of today.
Three moves?
Yeah.
Suplex.
Yeah, suplex, F5, it's over. I mean, kind of like you saw last night.
Yep.
But, back then, Brock was a little bit more of a polished wrestler because he was younger, he was fresh, he was the next big thing. And working with Kurt in that match brought him up to a completely different level. And obviously, the big spot in the match was the shooting star press, which should have left an average man dead, but we all know that Brock is not an average man.
Yep.
Brock is Brock for a reason. He is a beast. And to watch that happen in real time, which I was watching, I remember where I was when I was watching that WrestleMania. I was in my bedroom at my house as a young teenage boy, just watching this and watching the shooting star press. I was like, that's not right. That didn't go down the way it was supposed to. And to watch him finish that match, even back then, being the jaded fan I was just amazing. And that match will always stand out to me as one of the best matches in WrestleMania history. in my opinion.
Yeah, Brock is a beast. That's why I fear for Dean's life in like 3 weeks. But all right, so number 3. So we'll just keep the same order. So WrestleMania 17 as well. Edge and Christian versus the Dudleys versus the Hardy Boys for the tag team championships in a TLC match. Oh my God. I don't even know what to say, honestly, about this match besides the fact that it was the greatest spots ever. I mean, Jeff Hardy like Swanton, Bubba Ray, is every second of it was just so good. The spears from Edge just.
You know what sticks out in my mind most about that match?
What's that?
The nasty spill that Lita took because of the spear from Edge.
Yes.
You can't really tell if her head hits the ladder or not, but either way, even if it does or doesn't hit the ladder, that move hurt.
Yes. Also, who was it? I think it was Jeff Hardy also took the spear from the titles, holding on to the titles from Edge. And then, of course, Edge and Christian walk out champs, which is always a good thing to see whenever Edge wins anything. Or Christian wins anything. It's always great to see. Now, don't get me wrong. I love the Hardys. I love the Dudleys. Apparently, there's a TLC match going on in my house.
It
Tom,
sounds
right?
like a ladder match, like before.
Yeah, but I mean, I think everybody's seen this match or seen the spots from it. This is kind of towards the end of when I stopped watching wrestling. This is the last WrestleMania I watched live until about 9 years later. But yeah. Edge and Christian winning against the Dudleys and the Hardys. But, I mean, it wasn't just that match. I mean, everything that those three have done for the Attitude Era for the tag team division was just phenomenal, fantastic. I can't get enough of those 3 tag teams. But, I mean, they're pretty much done now, like all of them except for the Dudleys. I mean, I know the Hardy Boys, they're on TNA. But, yeah, I don't think it's ever going to be that good again in the tag team division. But I could be wrong. And I hope I am wrong, but the tag team division was probably the highlight for me of the Attitude Era overall, just because of the crazy spots they had. They were actually tag teams instead of just saying, hey, you two, you're both Asian, we're going to put you together. That's what we're going to do. You don't know each other, you don't like each other, but we're going to do it. Hi.
Exactly.
I'm being attacked by a chair right now.
It sounds like a chair or a trash can lid.
I think McFoley's in my house.
No DQ.
All right. Tom, what do you got for number 3?
My number 3 is Sasha Banks versus Bayley at TakeOver Brooklyn.
Yes.
So we've already talked about how good Sasha Banks is.
This is probably my favorite of her matches in NXT.
How good Bayley is. Yeah. Sasha Banks is going to make an appearance on next week's list, for sure, about my favorite wrestlers. But the build-up to this with Sasha being the boss, which is my favorite character in wrestling right now, running through the women's division there and kind of talking down to everybody, especially Bayley, who she had kind of had a little rivalry with ever since they both started in NXT. And just Bayley getting all these opportunities but never being able to win the title. And then she's going up against Sasha, who she has never beaten before in any kind of NXT takeover. Just kind of set the stage for this match. And some of the stuff that goes on in this match is the best women's wrestling I've ever seen, for sure, and some of just the best wrestling overall. First of all, I love Sasha's entrance coming in the Escalade with the security guards. Thought that was great. And then Bayley, of course, comes in like herself, but paying tribute to Dusty Rhodes, running through the, giving everybody high fives and giving people her little slap wristbands and stuff like that. Just a lot of fun. And then when it starts, Bayley has to be more brutal than she's ever been before. Pull off some ridiculous moves in order to actually beat Sasha. The Bayley to belly at the end of it was like absolutely incredible. It was just like a perfect culmination for that storyline in that match. Sasha putting her in the bank statement, like smashing her Bayley's hands with her feet while she had her in the bank statement was great. Putting her hand in between the stairs and smashing this smashing her hand between the stairs in the ring. That was awesome too. It just showed that those two were willing to go to extreme levels to win the championship. And then, even though I was disappointed because I love Sasha, it was such an amazing payoff for Bayley to finally win the women's championship in front of such a massive crowd and to get an amazing reaction like that. It just kind of paid off big time for her storyline. And even though it's kind of breaking kayfabe a little bit, I love the whole, Triple H coming out afterwards, giving him flowers, and the 4 horsewomen being in the ring together and everybody's crying and all that. It was just a really touching moment, and it was a nice send-off for Sasha Banks. I mean, she did have the Iron Woman match at the next TakeOver, but that was pretty much her send-off from NXT, and I thought it was a very fitting way to do it.
Yeah, that's the only thing I hate about whenever you have somebody like Sasha Banks or Kevin Owens that were champs, then they lose their titles because both of them were already on the main roster, but then they come back for the rematch, and it's one of those we know what's going to happen, but it's the journey to get there. But this is probably my favorite. Like I said, from honorable mention, just Sasha Banks, anything. But this is probably my favorite match of hers on NXT. Mr. Indy, you're up, sir. Number 3.
All right. Here's where I start to yell at Tom because my number 3 is Steen Generico from Ladder War 4.
There we go.
He touched base on how, dude, that match was absolutely amazing. And those two, not only outside of the ring, but inside the ring, obviously, they have a chemistry that you don't find anywhere. And the entire feud lasted a good 2-3 years. I know that Steen took some time off in that period, but it picked right back up where it left off when he came back. The match and the finish where they did the scaffold with the ladders and they did the package pile driver through the ladder, you knew at that point that both men were not only established on the indies, but were going to be huge when they moved on. Obviously, we know that Generico moved on. Rumor is he's in Mexico with children. Another rumor is, I don't know how this crazy rumor got started, but somebody says that he's Sami Zayn, and if he is indeed Sami Zayn, hey, you know what? It looks like he has found his place in professional wrestling on the highest scale possible. And not shortly thereafter was Steen moving on to the WWE as well, and to see that match and know that they had more to give us, they left us wanting more. And like we talked about earlier, now we get to see that on the biggest scale that professional wrestling has. It can only, I wish that it could only be as good as it was in Ring of Honor,
right?
But the WWE has certain standards and practices that won't allow them to do certain things like they did in Ring of Honor. But I honestly think that someday down the road, when the young kids today are watching Owens and Sami Zayn, will look back to kind of to look at history for themselves and see this match from Ring of Honor, so they know how good these two are and how good they are together. They're just absolutely amazing. Their chemistry will never be duplicated by anybody else, I don't think.
Yep. They are both amazing. I love Kevin Steen in the ring. The stuff he says is probably the greatest things ever. Shut up!
One of the best promo cutters, and honestly, one of the best heels you'll ever see. Yep. He does the little things, and the little things count a lot more than the big things, in my opinion.
Yep.
I've seen... Go ahead, I'm sorry.
No, I mean, before he gives a package pile driver, he just screams, "I hate you," at Generico. It's just so affecting.
Yes. It
He's
is.
one of the best heels of all time. In my
yelling
opinion.
at anybody that yells at Michael Cole, I'm a fan of. I'm just going to say that now. Did you see that, Michael? You going to say something? No. So moving on to number 2. So I said Austin versus Rock, WrestleMania 17. I mean, Tom covered it really well. No disqualification match for the WWF Championship, and Austin walked out champion, which is always a great thing. I love The Rock. Don't get me wrong. I'm not. I think he's probably the best ever on the mic. I have no problem saying that, and I will back that up wholeheartedly. But I mean, Stone Cold, he's pretty much done what he's done, and he's out. I mean, he still has the Stone Cold podcast that's featured on the network and stuff. But The Rock, he comes and goes, which is cool when he comes out. But I mean, people still think that these guys are going to come back and wrestle. I don't think it's going to happen. I mean, somebody was like, yeah, The Rock passed on the torch to John Cena at WrestleMania 30, and I'm like, no, he didn't. Like, John Cena already had the torch. Don't play into that gimmick.
Yeah.
But yeah, just Stone Cold versus The Rock. Like, they wrestled, like you said, 3 WrestleManias and countless other times at other pay-per-views. And this one was probably my favorite of all of them. But yeah, I'm not even sure what else to say because it was so good.
I think you meant to say WrestleMania 29.
WrestleMania 29.
Yeah.
Was it? Oh, was it the last one? Yeah, you're right. Never mind. WrestleMania 30 was Daniel Bryan. But yeah, okay.
That was WrestleMania.
WrestleMania. Your very own. All right, Tom, what do you got for number 2?
Well, speaking of WrestleMania 30.
Uh-oh.
Oh, that was perfect timing, Tim. That's a real nice little.
I messed up on purpose.
That was perfect.
I knew this was your number 2. I knew it. I just knew it.
Daniel Bryan versus Batista versus Randy Orton for the WWE Heavyweight Championship. Daniel Bryan is one of the best underdogs in the history of the WWE. And this whole WrestleMania, the build-up to it, with just constantly being beaten down by the Authority and never given the opportunities that he deserves and all of that, and, invading Raw with all those fans in the ring and everything that led up to this match just made it seem like Daniel Bryan absolutely has to win at WrestleMania because everybody loves that guy, but they're going to make it as extremely difficult as possible, having to beat Triple H in what was a fantastic match at the start of WrestleMania, having to beat him and then getting beaten down by Stephanie and Triple H afterwards and having a bumped shoulder. It was just like, man, what else could go wrong to Daniel Bryan? And then he gets into the main event match, the triple threat match, and Batista and Randy Orton just proceed to beat him up for a good 10 or 15 minutes, leading to a Batista bomb into an RKO through a table,
Great.
which was absolutely awesome. It was just so brutal, and one of my favorite things about wrestling is how absurd it gets, and I always love whenever they bring the stretcher out and get somebody in it and a neck brace and all that, and then they end up,
Coming back
breaking out of it. I don't need this. And then him coming back into the match and applying the yes lock to Batista, who eventually tapped out. And then just seeing the look on his face when he wins the titles and the entire crowd just going crazy and yesing and everyone's pointing their fingers in the air and all that. It was just a huge moment of relief and a well-deserved moment for Daniel Bryan, who unfortunately wasn't able to do very much after that due to a bunch of injuries and all that, and I miss him dearly. But this match was absolutely incredible, and it was the payoff to probably the best wrestling storyline of the past few years.
Yeah, it was good. It was really good. Mr. Andy, you're up. Number 2, sir.
My number 2 is another match from Ring of Honor. I don't know how many times or how much you guys know about Punk and Samoa Joe, the series of 3 matches that they had.
Yeah.
But I do believe it was the second match in the 3-match series that was probably one of the best matches I've ever seen. These 2 men, again, it's another chemistry thing. They have a chemistry that just you can't duplicate. Punk and Joe, and they were very young at the time, very green still. However, put on one of the best matches that North America had ever seen, and probably the world of professional wrestling. That I know that there's so many more matches that people would say are better than this match, but the chemistry between CM Punk and Samoa Joe and the series of 3 matches that they had, I do believe it was the second match. It might have been the third match, but I think the third match was just a 25-minute match that wasn't really much of anything except Joe beating the shit out of CM Punk. Yeah. He threw a lot of potatoes Punk's way, but Punk's a trooper, Punk's a worker, and they were able to make one of the greatest rivalries in Ring of Honor history out of those 3 matches. And I do believe that number 2 was probably the best of all 3.
I've never seen these matches. What about you, Tom?
I've seen them, but I'm also a little hazy on the ordering of them because it's been a while. But yeah, CM Punk and Samoa Joe were definitely helped put Ring of Honor kind of on the map, and it launched their careers. I mean, Punk ended up going to WWE, and then Samoa Joe had a real nice few years in TNA. Was one of the mainstays there with like AJ Styles and some other folks. But yeah, these two work really well together, and two of the most entertaining wrestlers you could ever see. And just the fact that they work so well together led to some really great matches.
Yeah. All right, so moving on to number one. So, like I said, I came back to wrestling in like late 2009, early 2010. But number one for me, WrestleMania 26 was the career versus the streak. Yep. And the build-up to this match was so amazing. I mean, WrestleMania 25, Shawn Michaels comes up short against The Undertaker and loses. Streak carries on. I believe it was, 19-0 or 20-0? Or, 18-0, something like that. Anyways. But he loses to The Undertaker. Then he gets to slam me for like match of the year, and he's like, I want a rematch because we had such an amazing match. We got to out, we have to make it better, do more spots, do crazier things. He pretty much says like, we want a rematch. The Undertaker comes out and says, no, I'm not accepting a rematch. Then Shawn Michaels is like, well, I'm going to go in the Rumble and I'm going to win, and then you're the World Heavyweight Champion. I'm going to fight you. Then comes up short in the Rumble, gets knocked out by Batista, and then Edge ends up winning the Rumble. Very heartbreaking because, Shawn Michaels goes crazy and starts like, knocking out refs and knocking out the other wrestlers and stuff like that. But then ends up losing the tag titles as well. Him and Triple H as DX had the tag champs. Lost it to the Miz and Big Show of all people.
Miz Show.
Miz Show. Then Elimination Chamber happens. I remember watching that. And Shawn Michaels comes up from the ring, or underneath the Elimination Chamber, and super kicks The Undertaker, and Chris Jericho pins him. Then the next night on Raw in Indianapolis, I'm there, and he calls out Undertaker, and he's like, face me at WrestleMania, get your revenge. I'm the reason you lost the title, not Chris Jericho. He's not that good. And then he says, I accept, but under one condition. If you lose, you have to retire. And it's like, I'm just thinking to myself, like, oh, shit just got real.
Yep.
The greatest, probably one of the greatest, stars of all times, Shawn Michaels going up against the mainstay of WWF, WWE, The Undertaker, again, but a bigger stipulation this time. This was also very memorable because Edge came out and challenged Chris Jericho for the World Heavyweight Championship that same night. But then the match itself was nothing short of amazing. My first WrestleMania back after like a 9-year hiatus of not watching too much wrestling, because John Cena, Randy Orton, I had no idea who those guys were. I knew The Undertaker, Shawn Michaels, Triple H, The Rock, not John Cena, The Rock, Stone Cold Steve Austin. Those were the guys when I stopped watching wrestling that were like the top guys. But seeing these two guys from my childhood fight it out again, and then just the ending of it, The Undertaker just he knows what he has to do, but it's just one of those like, do I do it? Do I finish it? Do I make this man retire? And you could see like the trying to think like the emotion going through him because he doesn't want to do it. And then Shawn Michaels does the slices his throat and then slaps him in the face, and the Undertaker tombstone pile drives him, pins him 1, 2, 3. But then at the Undertaker walks off, but then the fans are just chanting for Michaels, which was amazing. Just seeing that. But number one, Undertaker versus Shawn Michaels, streak versus career, WrestleMania 26. Tom, number one for you, sir. What do you have for us?
All right, so my number one is not. A lot of my matches that were on this list were all about story. All 4 of them were about story. This one, not so much. It's just it's the most fun match that I've seen. And Tim, we watched this yesterday.
This was a pretty amazing match.
Yesterday. And it is the Young Bucks versus the world's cutest tag team, Guerrilla Warfare, PWG.
Super Kick Party.
Super Kick Party. Yeah, so PWG sort of cares about stories and all that kind of stuff. But mainly it's just about putting on the most entertaining wrestling show that you possibly can. And the Young Bucks are probably in terms of just pure entertainment, are my favorite wrestlers, with their super kick parties and Meltzer drivers and all that kind of stuff. They're just absolutely absurd, and I love them to death. And this match is just absolutely great. Candice LeRae takes one of the craziest beatings I've ever seen.
Dear Lord, yes.
Yeah. And this kind of established her as, she had always been good, and, she was always into intergender wrestling. But this pretty much established her as like, all right, she can wrestle whoever she wants. Doesn't really matter. She's going to be incredible. And Joey Ryan is the perfect, like, sleazebag 70s porn star character.
He does look like that. You're right.
I mean, that's exactly what he does, and I'm glad he's on Lucha Underground this season. But just the amount of crazy spots in here, apron spots.
Crowd spots.
Yeah, everything about PWG, just wrestling in the crowd, doing all kinds of flips and shit onto chairs in the crowd. The crowd has to move out of the way just constantly during this match. Joey Ryan sneaks out and swaps the bag of thumbtacks with a bag of gummy bears, which proceed to be eaten by the Young Bucks and spat at the other guys to
You
chants
sick
of
fuck.
"You sick fuck," which is just always a ton of fun. And then the eventual thumbtack spots where put him down Joey Ryan's pants, or no, Candace ends up putting him down Matt Jackson's pants and giving him a balls plex at the end to win the match. But not before she takes a super kick to the face, which is a shoe with thumbtacks glued to the bottom, right to her face. And she is just an absolute bloody, bloody mess. But she's still able to land the balls plex onto the thumbtacks to win the match. Joey Ryan eats thumbtacks and then gets super kicked in the face. Just all kinds of fun. No real story that goes into it, kind of like most Young Bucks matches. But that's why I love them, because they're just incredibly entertaining. And that's what this match is from start to finish. Yep. Tim, I assume you enjoyed watching that match.
That was amazing. It was crazy.
It's just unlike anything that
Kevin Steen on commentary was pretty great too.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah, we have a dead woman in the ring. There is a dead woman in the ring.
She's dead. He's about to be dead.
Yeah, she's dead. Joey's about to be dead. Yeah, just add in Kevin Steen on commentary. It's
holy
the perfect.
Shit. Just random holy shit. Like you just are like, wow, that's crazy.
It's all on YouTube. If you haven't seen it, please check it out. It's so much fun.
It was great. It was a good time. All right, Mr. Adams, Mr. Indy.
Best for last. Number 1, Taker and Shawn at WrestleMania 25.
Nice. That's another amazing match.
Honestly, this was if I had to call any match a masterpiece, this would be, shout out to Chris Masters, by the way. This would have to be, this would have to be the greatest match of all time, in my opinion. And this is from not only a wrestling standpoint, but a sports entertainment standpoint as well. These two men, they've had so many matches over the years, so many great matches. You pointed out WrestleMania 26. They had the Royal Rumble match, and I do believe it was 1998. That was the match that should have ended Shawn's career. Thankfully, we got him back 4 years later, and that led to this WrestleMania 25 match that was, like I said, probably, in my opinion, and the opinion of a lot of others, the greatest wrestling match and sports entertainment match of all time.
Yep.
The spot where Shawn pulls the cameraman in front of him, and Undertaker takes that nasty spill outside. It was just another one of those, almost like a Kurt and Brock moment, where this guy shouldn't be able to get back up at all. You hear his head hit the ground, and he gets back up and he finishes the match. What was that?
It was terrifying.
Yeah.
I thought he died.
Oh, it was absolutely terrifying. Yeah.
By God, he's broken in half.
But yeah, that match is definitely my favorite match of all time. On any list, I would put that match at number 1.
Yeah, the reason my number 1 was 26 was strictly because it was Shawn Michaels' last match as well.
Yeah, the emotion involved in that one was a lot more heightened than in WrestleMania 25, and that added that added to it, but
it wasn't nearly as technically profound as number 25.
Right. And you go into that WrestleMania 26 with expectations of, okay, they do it better than 25. Nothing's going to live up to your expectations. And although it was, a great match, an amazing match, it was still not the technical masterpiece that was WrestleMania 25.
Yep, I would agree.
These are the best, definitely the best 1-2 matches, match or rematch of all time.
Definitely.
Yep, so that's going to bring the show to a close this week. But once again, thank you guys very much for tuning in. Mr. Adams, what kind of events are coming up for CCW in the coming weeks?
We are actually trying to get it to where we're running 2 shows a month, but currently we're having 1 show a month. I do believe that the next show is at the end of April. We're taking a kind of a hiatus for right now. We're having some talent coming in and some talent heading out the door. Yeah. I don't know if you've seen any of the stuff we've done recently, but we've been having Badass Billy Gunn coming to the shows. Mm-hmm. He has been a mainstay for us here recently, and definitely one of the best guys to ever work with in and out of the locker room. He is just an awesome individual to know. We're going to be bringing back a few people. Rikishi hasn't been there in a while. I do believe he's going to be coming back soon. We're just looking to expand, and hopefully here soon. I've actually been talking to our promoter. We have the rights to many different NWA pay-per-view names, I guess you could say.
Nice.
So we're going to be looking to do a Starrcade here soon.
Nice.
Dang. Hey, I don't mean to interrupt, but I do need to leave, so see you
okay,
guys.
Tom.
Bye.
Well, we can wrap it up on that note, man, if you'd like.
Yeah. So once again, thank you very much for coming on, Mr. Indy. So join us next week, you guys. We're going to be going over our top 5 with an honorable mention. Favorite wrestlers of all time. So there's no real stipulation on that one, I guess, as you can't have a wrestler on there twice like this week. So make sure to follow, hit that subscribe button, and we will see you guys next time.